Welcome to Determined to Succeed. I'm your host, Dawn Mullarney, also known as the Unique Connector. So I'm so excited to have Lisa on the show today. So, Lisa, I want to kick it off because I know you've made some pivotal changes in your career and in your life over the years. And so, one thing is, how do you trust yourself when you go through those big changes in life?
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks, Dawn, for having me on the
Yeah.
podcast. I'm really excited to be here. So I spent a lot of my life kind of fitting into one sort of career box. And about 4 years ago, the organization that I was working for was purchased by another larger national organization. And everything kind of changed. My job changed. I wasn't happy there anymore. I'd loved it at the beginning. And so I thought that one day I was going to have my performance review, and they offered me either a 30% salary reduction,
Mm.
or a severance package. And at the same time, my last grandma had passed away. And so I was leaving that same day to go to her funeral.
Oh,
Um, and so I said, well, can I, obviously I was in panic because I need income, I need a job. So I said, well, can I go to my grandma's funeral, think about it, and let you know when I get back? And they said, no, we actually need to know by the time you leave, and then you can train your
wow.
replacement. And so, they let me go home, and I kind of thought about it. I talked to my husband. I reached out to a lot of contacts, which I think connections are really important to have in life. And actually set up 3 interviews before I had to go to my grandma's funeral.
Oh,
And I think kind of the kicker that really made me want to leave was the fact that I'd been there for almost 10 years and they wouldn't give me the time to consider what my options might be. And so, my husband was like, you can't work there anymore. And so I knew there were a lot of job opportunities out there. And so I trusted myself, and I left. And a lot of the job offers that I was getting were not what I wanted to be doing. I knew that I wanted to work somewhere where I felt like I could make a difference. I wanted to work somewhere to support other businesses, other individuals. Um, and so, I was going on these job interviews, but I was also listening to a lot of podcasts, like Brene Brown, Glennon Doyle, things like that. And I actually listened to so many of those that I gave myself an ear infection.
oh
Because
gosh.
I was like cleaning my house, so I was getting sweaty, but anyway, I just decided to kind of put out to the universe what I wanted. And a former connection of mine who worked for a staffing firm said, well, there's this job at the Middleton Chamber of Commerce and they need some help. And I thought, well, that sounds fun. And so I went and I did it. And it turned out that I felt really good being the temp there. And then when a position opened up, they offered it to me and I accepted it. And, it's very different than what I had done in the past. But I've always been a really curious human being. And so, I think that comes across when I'm meeting with our current members or potential members because um, I am really curious about what they do. I see things and I ask questions, and I'm not going to go in and take over their job, but I think I show authenticity and vulnerability, when I'm there talking to them, and it's just been a really it's the hardest job I've ever had, but also the most professionally fulfilling job I've ever had. So, yeah, so I think, that was kind of the catalyst to a lot of the other changes that I've taken on over the last couple of years. And it's just been a fun ride.
Well, I didn't even know all of that backstory even
Yep.
before, I just learned that. And that's where too, I love having these conversations because I feel like I always learn new things. And that's where too, I know you've recently taken even another kind of pivotal thing and where you've trusting yourself. And that's where I just always love it because I learned from other people. And also
Mhm.
too, I love seeing other people take leaps because it inspires me, gives me a new perspective, makes me show up as more of myself. So that's where even too, I was like, Lisa, we should chat. We should have you on the show because I know you recently have taken now another leap. So even tell the listeners about that and what you're focusing even on.
Yeah. So every year on my birthday, I give myself a word or a challenge. And so before I so when I was in my late 40s, I really I wanted to try something different. And people in my life have always told me that I'm funny, that I'm a funny person. And so I decided to take an improv class. And I really believe that every business professional should take an improv class because even though it's really hard, it teaches you how to talk to anybody about anything at any point in time.
Mm.
And so then when I turned 49, it was the year of no fear because I was like, I'm going to be 50 in a year and I want to just do all these things that I've been a little bit afraid of.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I wanted to try stand up comedy. And so I just happened to find this woman named Dina Nina Martinez, and she's now the first transgender alder for the city of Madison, but she also has her own comedy company. And so I took a level one stand-up class with her and I was on stage performing and it was so scary, but also like as soon as I stood on the stage with the microphone, I was like, this is where I belong. And yeah, it was still COVID, so it was hard to find, I had jobs, but there wasn't an audience. And so I quit for a little bit. But then last summer, so summer of 2022, I took another class with her and literally heard the universe say it's now or never. And
Mm.
so I started doing open mics again last September and created my own brand by that November. I had a logo, I had a Facebook page, I had all of these things kind of lined up and just really wanted to take it seriously and not just kind of think, oh, well, let's see what's going to happen with this. Like I really wanted to again, appear serious. I had some coaching, some business coaching with somebody that we both know, Nancy
Hmm.
also.
Yes.
It's really opened so many doors for me and it's been so fun. It's been really hard, like really, really hard. I'm kind of a unique voice in the area. There are not a lot of other women who are my age doing comedy. And so a lot of what I'll get at Comedy on State from the college students is, oh, you remind me of my mom. If my mom actually said what she felt or like, said kind of the authentic truth of what it's like to be getting older. And yeah, I've been invited to perform a lot of places and, created a vision board for 2022. And the only thing I have left to do on there is to perform in Minneapolis, but everything else
Ooh.
I crossed off. So yeah, and
Oh.
it's just, it's not only kind of open a new part of myself, but I've also met so many amazing people, particularly young people that are, trying to do stand up and just, learning about their lives. There are people that do it that are non-binary, that are transgender, that are gay. And it's not that I don't know people like that, but they've given me a whole new understanding of kind of having that conversation and seeing them on stage and, hearing a little bit about their life. It's just opened me up to everything.
Well, I love it. And I give you kudos because I don't think I could even do that at all. And so that's where even too, I feel that I love that you have a word or you have something that you're kind of striving for each birthday. And so do you feel that doing something like this, which is challenging, totally outside the box, do you feel that you're showing up as your more authentic self because you're kind of leaning into something that's so different than even what your day to day is?
Yep, I do. Yeah, I kind of used to live my life in fear, where it was, fear of what are other people going to think of me?
Mm.
What's going to happen if I fail? And I think a lot of people have kind of a pivotal moment in their life that happens, and we had one in my family. And after you're close to losing somebody that you really love, it's like, life can either be a great adventure, like don't just sit home being afraid of what might happen. Go out, explore things, learn new things. And, I think we've all experienced failure either in a personal life or professionally. And, it's kind of like, well, what's the worst that could happen if I try that or if I do that? I could fail at stand-up comedy. I haven't yet, but if I did, I have a great life, you know, beyond that. It's not where I completely fill my cup, but it helps to fill part of, part of that cup of the whole package of who I am. And, again, just kind of living in the fear. I didn't have the most great life growing up. I was a sensitive kid. I was really shy and was not really allowed to be that. So I spent a lot of my life pretending to be somebody that I wasn't.
Mm.
And then, again, just seeing my best friends would know who I was, but not a lot of other people. And then once I started to kind of show who I really was, people responded to it. And at first I was like, okay, they're going to like this part of me, but there's going to be something that's going to happen. And they're going to be like, oh, we don't like the whole Lisa. But that's not what has happened. People at the chamber really have responded to me and appreciated me for who I am. And, my new comedy friends have done that as well. And so, I think there's a big lesson to learn to just be yourself. Of course, there are times where you're going to have to be more professional or, a little bit different, but, let your true self shine through because you never know who's going to need to receive what you're offering.
That's a good one. Receiving. And that's where I feel like even too, what you said earlier of like, what's the worst that can happen? What's the best thing that could happen? Because you could be inspiring somebody or making that person's day or making that little touch that they see, oh, look at Lisa showing up as her true self. Maybe I can start showing up as my true self because I feel like that's even been the journey for me too over here, where it's trying to navigate. And I think with the society and social media and everything, sometimes where it's like, you got to be this cookie cutter person, or you got to show up this way, or you got to do this in order to succeed. And deep down, no journey looks the same. And
Right.
we're all trying new things. And that's where too, we need to push past the fear. And that's where I just love it because if you wouldn't have done that, you'll probably regret it one day if you wouldn't have tried it.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Yeah, and I grew up watching the Carol Burnett show. So every week we'd watch the Carol Burnett show. And I know some younger people don't know who she is, but um as I got older, I admired her even more for being a woman in business in the late 1960s and knowing what she wanted to do and being able to stand up for that and have her own show. But we'd watch it every week, and I would go and raid my closet for all the costumes that
Mhm.
I could find and play all the different parts throughout the whole entire week. And so, like Carol, it sounds weird, but Carol Burnett has really been my guiding light for a lot of my life, just kind of seeing how funny she was, seeing how, authentic she was, seeing her go through struggles. And so, I got to see her this past or about a year and a half ago in
Ooh.
Milwaukee, and she picked she picked me to ask her a question.
Ooh.
And so yeah, it was weird because it was sold out, but I think the universe just knew that I needed to talk to her because I had a couple seats between the aisle and where I was sitting that were empty, and so I went and sat on the aisle and I raised my hand and yeah, she called on me and I got to ask her a question. And I wanted to ask her something very profound or, say something about how much she meant to me, but I knew that I might get emotional if I did that. And so my question makes me think of Dirty Dancing, where baby's carrying the watermelon and Johnny says, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm carrying the watermelon." I asked her, I just turned 50. And so I said, if you could go back and give your 50-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be and why? And she thought about it. And then she said, you know what? I'll let you know when I get there. Um,
Oh.
and like earlier this summer, I sent her a fan letter. I'd never sent one before, but I know that she's getting older. And so I sent her, this fan letter about who I am and what she's meant in my life. And I just said, if you could send me an autograph photo, I would love it. And so she sent one to me. And, in my letter, I was talking about, I'm following my dreams. I'm doing the things that I want to. And so the inscription is, Lisa, keep following your dreams.
Oh.
And so, yeah, it was just, I don't know. My husband was like, what is going on with you when I opened the letter? Because I was like running around the house. And then I
Yeah.
I said to him, "Oh my gosh, now I have to figure out when I die who's going to get it. I should put it in my will." He said he said most people won't think it's that amazing. So,
Oh. Well,
but
look at that one person, how much no matter you haven't met her in person
Right.
till that day when you got to ask the question, but that's where I'm like, some people don't realize of the impact or the ripple that they're making on other people.
Yeah.
And just you showing up as your true self now because of seeing her doing that, like, look at that, how much it's changed you and how much, many more years that you have to inspire other people. And that's the part I think sometimes we don't think about
Yeah.
and hold ourselves back from being our true selves or taking that leap or trying something new. And so I love that you're doing that, Lisa, and it's
Yeah.
very inspiring, and I loved learning more about you that I didn't even know about. But wow, that autograph and to be able to ask a question.
Right.
So even too, as you reflect on this conversation, even too, what is even another piece of advice or thought that you have for the listeners?
I think that a lot of people think, oh, I can't do something until I'm ready, until I'm really prepared to do it. But when you're doing comedy, you can't really prepare. You're
Yeah.
basically sharing your art, for lack of a better word, on stage in front of people, hoping that they'll react to you the way that you want them to. But I've also said yes to a number of things that I'm not really prepared for. Next weekend, I'm going to be the MCC for the Rape Crisis Center Java Jive. And
Ooh.
I've done that a little bit, but not as much as they want. And I mean, I said yes because it's an organization that's dear to my heart. But also because I could wait till I was ready, but who knows if I would ever actually be ready. And I have to try it to be able to get ready. And so, I'm really excited to have that coming up. And, I've really said yes to all the shows that I've been invited to, just because you never know who you're going to meet, never know who you're going to see. And it's just fun to be out there on stage, making
Yeah.
people laugh.
Well, and the
So,
inspiration that you might get from other people, and I think
right.
that's where too, it's like we got to do that because we'll never know what could come out of it. And it's funny that you say that because I just said yes to being an MC for a past guest on the show for a mental health and wellness
Okay.
festival. And I'm going to be the MC. And I'm like, I've never really exactly done that, but
Yep.
we'll try it. And
Right.
I think this is what I need. So we got to just
Exactly.
lean into the opportunities. And Lisa, I'm so proud of you. And I'm so glad to have learned a lot more about you today and to just hear your story. And I hope the listeners find some inspiration that they keep going and don't fear things because life is too short,
It is too short.
unfortunately. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
So keep shining bright, keep inspiring
Thank
other
you.
people. But I'm so thankful we met, Lisa. So
Oh,
thank you
yeah.
for joining me
No.
on the show.
No, thank you, Dawn. Yeah, thank you.